Hello and welcome back to Emily Cat 176. It's Friday again. The weeks are just flying by, aren't they? So, as I said on Wednesday, my book review this week is actually about a true crime book. This one. This is... Yes, it's a case that happened in 1970 in New Zealand. And just to give you a little bit of the background, Jeanette and Harvey Crewe went missing. They think maybe around the 17th or 18th of June. And her father, who had the neighbouring farm, didn't seem overly concerned they were missing. He didn't go and check until someone prompted him to go over and check. They found a blood-splattered house and an 18-month-old child in her cot, still alive, Rochelle. Their bodies weren't actually found till about the 22nd of July. It's a very controversial case in New Zealand as well. It's very interesting because, as I said, they were both shot dead, their bodies were removed, and the child was left there. And it's been proven that someone was caring for that child while they were missing, because it was about 5 or 6 days, I think, and she'd had liquids and she was a little bit dehydrated and she might not have had much food, but someone had definitely been caring for her, which makes you wonder, was that the murderer? So originally they thought it was her father. There was a lot of animosity between them. Her father, Len, what was his name? Len Delmer, I think it is. Len Delmer. Yes, Len Demler. Len Demler. He was convicted of tax evasion, and he had to sell half his farm to his wife to pay for the tax evasion. And he wanted to get out of farming. He'd had enough. He'd worked hard all his life. And when the wife died, the family was very funny, because that half of the farm was left to Jeanette, and he was very bitter about that. And they went missing the day after Lynette had been to a solicitor to sign the forms to do with her mother's will. So, naturally, he was considered the main suspect to begin with. Then, for some reason, I'm not really 100% sure, the police changed track, and then they accused Arthur Allen Thomas, another farmer in the district. He'd been keen on Jeanette, and I think he'd bought her flowers once years ago. There was actually a royal commission about this, because he was convicted, he was sent to jail, then there was a royal commission, he was pardoned, let free. It was proven that the police had planted evidence at the scene to convict this Thomas. So this has made it so famous. As far as I know, it's still an open case. Len Demler died in 1992. Now this book, it's very well written. And I think with true crime books, this man, he doesn't go into the crime, the actual crime itself. We know that Harvey Crewe was sitting in a chair like this, and he was shot from the back. Jeanette Crewe had broken bones and teeth in her face, and she'd been shot in the head as well. This is well written because it touches on that, but then it goes through the facts, and it doesn't embellish anything. He does come to conclusions, and I have to admit I agree with the conclusion. I think it was the father that did it. But it's, as I said, this is well written. He was a journalist, Chris Birt, and as I said, it is a factual book, and all the facts are laid out, and the timelines, everything. It's a really, as I said, it's an interesting case. But he does give his opinion, and as I said, I tend to agree with him. I think it was the father that did it. And this is where I like when they're true crime books, when they're written like this. Fact-based. They are not going out on tangents and whatever. They present the facts. They say, this is what I think, and then they provide facts to back up that opinion. So it's a very interesting, case, this one, because a witness saw a woman in the front yard with that little 18-month-old during the time that they were missing. But it's as I said, all the medical experts have said she was cared for during that time when her parents were missing. Even when the father came over to check on them, he didn't take the child with him. He went to another neighbour to call the police, and he left the child there. So I do like true crime. I like crime, and I like true crime. And of course, if you want to look up this case, it's the Jeanette and Harvey Crewe, CREWE murders. It's a long time now. 1970 this happened, in June. There were incidents before they went missing, like people breaking in, clothes being set on fire. It's just all very, very interesting. And as I said, the father, he got back that half of the farm, he sold it, and he moved into Auckland, which is what he wanted to do. So it was, as I said, it's an interesting case, and it's been well written. So if you are interested in this, can you see his name? Chris Birt, because he followed the case. He's a New Zealander. He came to Australia and then he went back to New Zealand, and he's, as I said, it's a well-written book. It is a well-written book. And yes, it says, there can be no doubt now that Jeanette and Harvey Crewe died as a result of one man's incessant craving for wealth and status, something he had had to forego most of his life. And this was the father. He really wanted money. He wanted money because he wanted to get off the land. But I like this, as I said, I like these sort of books when they're true crime. You know, they said give facts, back it up. If you look into this crime, you might come to a different conclusion. But having read this, and he's been very thorough, I definitely think it was the father. So yeah, do any of you read true crime? I know Anne Rule. I don't even know if she's still alive. I know she's done true crime. Some do. And you can get well-written books. You can get not so good. books on true crime, like any type of book. But this one in particular is well written. And as I said, it follows the timeline. It concentrates mainly on the motives, the Royal Commission, and the conclusion. And I said, I came to the same conclusion. So yeah, as I said, if you want to have a look at that case, if you are a fan of true crime, this one is very famous in New Zealand. And of course, New Zealand is very close to Australia. They're like, a lot of people say they're like our little brother. I don't know about that. It's a separate country, of course, but it is very close to Australia. Okay, so enjoy your weekend. I will be back on Monday talking about a show I'm going to see tomorrow. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye.